Hey guys, it's Rachel. It is Thankful Thursday, and you've got me and Kel this week, as always. This week we've actually, the rota's been done by Sarah, who presents on the Saturday, and what she kind of suggested is that we follow a DBT format, which is dialectal behavioural therapy, which is, those of you who are not aware of DBT, is a mixture of cognitive behavioural therapy and sort of like Zen philosophy, and the dialectal, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, is kind of the mix and the merging of them both, really. And so not only are you looking at changing patterns in behaviour through the cognitive approach, by sitting down, walking through, bit by bit what kind of led you to use the behaviour or whatever, if you can identify a behaviour, it also focuses incredibly much on being able to be mindful. I mean, I could give you sort of a dictionary definition of mindful, or what mindfulness is according to Marsha Linehan, who developed DBT, but to me, and from my experiences, I thought that might actually be a kind of better approach. And being mindful to me is about self-awareness. They're kind of quite loaded words, really, aren't they? So mindfulness is about being able to take a step back. It's about being able to reflect. It's about practicing such skills. It's about challenging yourself before you use a behaviour. It's about trying a different approach. It's about allowing yourself space, physically if you need it, but kind of in your head as well, and saying, do you know what, my head is just, I need to just take a step back. I need to sit down, I need to breathe, and I need to think about how I can articulate what's going on for me, rather than cutting myself, burning myself, over-exercising, restricting more, purging, binging, whatever behaviours that you use, and saying, okay, this is where I am today, and I need to reflect on that, and I need to think about how I can pass my day in a way that is about me being mindful, is about me being self-aware, is about me using skills that allow me not to hurt myself, which is what I've done for so long in the past. And with DBT, the diagnosis that is usually used alongside using DBT therapy is borderline personality disorder, which is something I'm kind of back and forth with. It was something I was diagnosed with, which has now been written over, and it's been realised that it was actually post-traumatic stress disorder. But both of those struggles have incredibly similar behaviours, actions, thought processes, and really the difference for me when it's borderline personality disorder is often that it's more of a long-term struggle, and it's very much connected to abuse in childhood, because you've got to think about, if you've been abused from a very young age, the whole way your mind, your brain develops, the way your personality develops, is all going to be impacted by those experiences. So today, Sarah's asked me to look at basically how I can stay mindful in the face of challenge, and that kind of is very much what I've just said, isn't it? That using DBT is about recognising challenges, recognising challenging behaviours, recognising destructive behaviours. I think something that was helpful for me with regards to being able to apply mindfulness in a challenge is by looking at what those challenges could be. When I went inpatient and I did DBT, there were a number of behaviours that I was using that they were asking me to reflect on and discuss. One of those was overdosing. Before going into hospital that time, I had made numerous attempts on my life, and kind of the main big attempt was one that landed me in a medical ward for a few weeks. and I haven't done anything like that since, and that was, you know, June 2003, so it was a long time ago. But that was a behaviour that was kind of used. Sometimes I used overdosing as a way of shutting everything up, other times I genuinely wanted to die. And so that was one of the behaviours I looked at. The second one was my self-injury, which for me was predominantly burning myself. The third behaviour they wanted me to look at was connected to my anorexia and was the restriction. At that point I wasn't over exercising, so that wasn't needing to be looked at. I wasn't purging, and so they were my kind of three behaviours. And what the psychiatrist wanted me to bring into those behaviours was denial, something that I'm sure many of us with eating disorders and other struggles can relate to. And for me it served a purpose. It very much served a purpose, and it was something that I thought was keeping me safe and contained. And what I realised ultimately was that it was doing the exact opposite of that. It wasn't actually containing me, it wasn't keeping me safe, it was actually killing me. And if I continued to use the behaviours that I was using, I wasn't going to survive. And so that was a real wake-up call for me, and I did end up leaving the programme, went home, kind of fell apart for a few weeks and really picked myself up, and that's when I started my, you know, recovery, which is what's led to my, what I would consider recovered place now. So in order to be mindful in the face of a challenge, I think you need to be mindful of what those challenges are, and even if that means writing that down, excuse me, then I think that's incredibly important. And what can also come out of that is that when you've identified those behaviours, if you've used one of those behaviours, you should just step back and say, hang on, right, who did I speak to before? Where was I? What feelings can I remember having? Had I read something? Had I seen something? Had something triggered it? And that only in that way can you recognise what your challenges are, you see. And once you recognise what those challenges are, that's when you can take a step back and be mindful. That's when you can literally, when I say take a step back, I mean literally move. So you're feeling wound up, you're feeling like impulsive. Okay, what can you do? Okay, you need to make yourself safe. Okay, you need to literally move. So I would say, if you're in the flat, go outside. Okay, if you're in your bedroom, go downstairs. Whatever it is that moves you. And quite often what is helpful in when impulsive behaviours are challenging us is that we need space to be able to be mindful. We can't be mindful when it's all on top of us and we're in these sort of four walls. So get out, you know, that's something, you know, just get out, just breathe, get yourself some space, get yourself somewhere where your head can breathe. Go to a coffee shop, go to a bookshop, I don't mind what it is, but in that way you can then be mindful and you can reflect. Because for me, mindfulness is about that, taking that step back and being self-aware and saying, right, how can I deal with this situation? And the more you practice it, the easier it's going to get, until ultimately you aren't using behaviours. And believe me, you can get to that point, because I got to that point, but it takes dedication, it takes commitment, and it takes practice, because you're not going to get it right straight away. So there is my kind of understanding of what Sarah's sort of challenged me with today, and I hope that's been of some use to you. And I will put a link to the book that we're using for this, and I hope it's been of some use to you guys. Okay, I'll see you next week. Okay, bye.